Loyal listeners to our program know one thing we follow closely here at the Missouri School of Journalism and at KBIA is the FAA's actions on drones and the use of drones in this country. As you know, we started a drone journalism project in 2013, and the FAA ostensibly grounded it. Well, this week we got our first look at what the agency intends to do about regulating drones in the U.S. airspace, and it looks like drones for journalism could become a thing again, and that would be legally. Under this proposal, this is not yet policy, this is not yet law, but who would be able to use drones and what would that look like?
Well, I think from the broadcast standpoint, it's going to be and for photographers, it's going to be very good in terms of journalism. But you also have in strategic communication, advertising, public relations, they'll be able to use it to do videos and photos in places and in ways that was really going to enhance them. I think scientists are looking forward to using this, agriculturalists, farmers, people who just have, you have whole herds of cattle, and instead of sending somebody out in a truck, you could send a drone out to make sure that, your cattle is in a certain area. So I think it's going to have a lot of applications, but the fear has always been from the FAA, how do we control this, and how do we make sure that people are using it the right way and not causing security problems or problems for airliners?
Or even privacy concerns, which of course is a big one when we're talking about journalism. Where is that reasonable expectation of privacy? I mean, right now on the ground we have pretty clear rules, if you will, laws in a lot of cases. On the sidewalk you're fine. Being in someone's yard once they ask you to leave, not okay. Are we then going to make some sort of altitude thing too? Do we just need to bring the plane up into the air? I think that actually might be what happens, is that there has to be some sort of way to determine where your reasonable expectation of privacy is with a drone.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was looking over the rules, because it say you can only go so many feet in the air, you can only go so fast, these sorts of things. Well, what's to keep someone from saying, wait a minute, you're invading my privacy, and taking out their gun and just shooting down a drone? I mean, it's still got some hiccups to it that they're going to have to work out, but I do think that ultimately we will get to a point where it becomes another tool that journalists and others can use to better bring news and information to the public.
And we've always had to adapt. I mean, once live trucks became a thing, it had to be, okay, how are we going to handle a standoff situation? The police don't want us broadcasting their positions because that puts them in danger, and we have those conversations. So when GoPro cameras came about, suddenly you had this tiny camera you could put in all these different places. There was that conversation. This is that next conversation of how is this going to work, and when is it acceptable, and all of those conversations.
So one of the questions then that I would put back at you, looking through some of these regulations, one of the things that it does say is that you can't fly it over people who aren't in control of it. So that would kind of rule out sending a drone to cover a protest, say like what we saw in Ferguson. It would rule out sending a drone over the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. What instances from a journalism standpoint could you see using a drone in order to get additional footage or photos or whatever that might be?
I think coming from the Mountain West as a reporter, wildfires, if we could have gotten a drone up in the air to check on wildfires and where they were burning and how close to homes, that would have been really valuable information for us, and I think would fit into the parameters of what's being discussed. So I think in a lot of ways, weather type of scenarios may be good for that.
Regionally tornado damage.
Absolutely.
Same type of thing.
And in general, some of those backwoods areas where you aren't able to see what's going on, I think there's some valuable footage of even the Missouri River. It'd be great to have some nice video of the Missouri River from above.
I mean, to me, it's one of those things where areas that were inaccessible is where drones are really going to help in terms of getting news and information out to the public, and to visually show what's happening, especially when you're talking about tornadoes, hurricane damage. So the weather coverage is really going to benefit from this. And then I think once they start using it, you'll begin to see other applications of how it can actually bring that news and information back.